After hours train control center promise on the track Warrant. The train control center looks like night discovered a way to stack itself. By day the place is a hive of clipped radio and coffee that performs optimism. After midnight it becomes a low hum of red and green that pretends to be faith. I flashed a visitor badge, slid my phone face down into my left pocket, the pocket I use for things that are supposed to make it home, and followed the hallway that smelled like dust, ozone, and decisions. Banks of monitors waited like patient windows. A dispatcher lifted 2 fingers without looking and pointed me toward the glassed-in mezzanine. Back home, Evan had said, "Can we talk tomorrow?" in the voice that really means please stay now. Our couch is a courtroom when it wants to be. If we sit at opposite ends long enough, it swears us in. I left before opening statements rehearsed themselves into weapons. On the escalator, my screen lit with a message from R. Roman in my contacts, R in the way I label hazards to make them smaller. Mez, just talk. He didn't add the word please. He doesn't waste words he intends to honor. By day, I fix other people's paragraphs for a city newsletter that believes adjectives are public service if they're accurate. By night, I try not to turn my own into threats. Evan and I keep a code that works when we remember it. T means come here, you awake. Means I'm scared. Tomorrow means not yet, but don't wander. Roman re-entered orbit 2 months ago when I interviewed him for a story about signal modernization. He wore a work shirt open 1 button too many and a laugh that sounded like a glass agreeing to be set down gently. He walked me through track diagrams the way some people walk you through their childhood home, pointing at saints and sins without pretending they were unrelated. He didn't ask for anything. That was how I started bringing him everything. He stood near a wall of displays that mapped the city as a string of nerves. Sleeves pushed, collar unpunished, headset around his neck like a secret he decided not to tell. He had a small stack of paper on the console, track warrants, the kind of permission that keeps steel from choosing chaos. When he turned, the red glow room let his face be an opinion I already knew I shared. "You came," he said, "because men never tire of pretending a rival is a plot twist." "I came to return something," I said. "My spare fob, your restraint." "Your name," I told him. "It's been on my mouth too long for its own health." He took the top warrant from the stack and set it on the console with a fine pen. The form had boxes that want to be obeyed. "3 words," he said. "Why are you here?" "3 words is cruel," I said. "That's why they work." He tapped a blank margin as if we were writing in a wide field and not a room that remembers every lie told inside it. "No speeches under the board. Radios take it personal." I wrote proud at breakfast. Beneath it, smaller like a fuse I might or might not light, touch before arguing. He read the ink as if it had temperature. He didn't touch me. His hand hovered a breath from my lapel, the distance a match keeps during training, and fell back to the console like the dispatcher on Channel 6 had veto power. "Does he know?" Roman asked. He didn't need to weaponize the pronoun. "He knows the apartment is quiet," I said. He looked at the track map, the city as lines that taught themselves how to meet, and then at me the way a man checks a signal he doesn't yet trust. "Look," he said, and nudged a knob. A string of green marched east like a sentence that finally decided on its verb. "This job is 90% asking metal to mean what it says. The other 10 is admitting you didn't." Heat arrived before hands do when men are trying to be better than their appetites. He stepped into my weather. "Tell me no," he said, the only permission slip he bothers to sign. I didn't. I met him in the inch that rewrites evenings. His mouth tasted like mint and cheap coffee and the idea of citrus. When his hand found the back of my neck, his grip remembered humane limits. My body answered like a courtroom that wants the witness anyway. He made the sound men make when a small country surrenders and calls it diplomacy. I made the one I've learned not to hate when it belongs to him. We didn't rush. Tracks punish speed with paperwork and scars. His mouth found the hinge of my jaw. Mine found the line behind his ear where regret loses vocabulary. His palm slid under my shirt and rested flat a second. Do you swear? Then moved with attention rather than appetite. He guided my hand down with the steadiness of someone who respects tools. I closed my fingers and he exhaled against my mouth a truth nobody paid to hear. He reached for me and I let him. We stayed quiet because steel prefers prose. A relay clicked its small approval. We already cheated, he said when breath remembered its job. We cheated the first week we started telling each other the truth before we told it at home. I know, I said, and a distant horn admitted its complicity. He folded the warrant and slid it into my left pocket with ceremonial slowness. His thumb traced my wrist once and chose not to stay. He stepped back the moral inch that passes inspection. I reserved a room across the street, he said, not triumphant. Weather report, not prophecy. Refundable. We could stand at the window and not touch for 60 seconds to prove we remember ceremony. We could keep the do not disturb honest. I'm tired of being clever, I said. Clever's a detour, he said. Accurate is a schedule. He opened a drawer and pulled out a novelty magnet shaped like a tiny signal head, ridiculous and perfect, and pressed it into my palm. For your fridge, he said. Cold helps letters behave. We climbed a short set of steps to the catwalk that looks down on dispatch like an argument you intend to keep civil. He showed me the block boundaries the public never sees, the red line that means stop and the white one that means if you go now, nobody bleeds. People think trains run on power, he said. Mostly they run on consent. Do we? I asked. He looked at my mouth, and then away the way a man avoids looking directly at the sun for reasons unrelated to brightness. We're negotiating, he said. When I left, the night had selected a temperature and stuck with it. The crosswalk gave me time, I took it. The apartment offered its square of kitchen light and the fridge's patient hum. Evan sat on the floor with his back against the door, sleeves pushed to his elbows, one ankle crossed over the other, the posture manuals use when they draw people who still believe in mornings. He didn't ask where I'd been. He tilted his head toward the place beside him. I sat. Do you want to be asked? He said, voice steady, not performing mercy, offering it. Please, I said, because prompts are the scaffolding of my better self. Are you lonely? Some nights, I said. Not here, not when you ask first, not when the kettle outruns the reasons. I took his wrist and placed his hand on my forearm the way he does when he needs to make sure I'm not inventing weather. His thumb traced once and decided to believe me. I feel useful, he said. I want to be wanted before I'm useful. Tonight's procedure, I said. Touch first, argue second, report later. The kettle clicked like a stamp in a country that still believes in mail. He poured water over mint. We named it dinner because names are cheaper than regret. I pinned the folded track warrant beneath the signal magnet so Proud at Breakfast faced the room. Evan read the ink and his mouth did the smaller, braver thing. He took the dry erase marker from the cup by the fridge and wrote beneath the magnet, "Tomorrow, keep the torque." He didn't grin. He nodded like a man assembling a morning from honest screws. We made a rule that isn't noble. When prosecution tries to wear a bathrobe, one of us says control center and the other puts the kettle on while the first puts his hands where history can find them. 5 words when 5 are enough. Stop at the shoulder, not the ditch. Try to want what we promised, and when we don't, write 3 words on small paper and tell the room where we'll fail differently tomorrow. Days do what days do when you're trying to be an amateur human with professional consistency. The warrant in my pocket learned the shape of my left hand. Paper learns its carriers. On the late bus, I drafted messages to no one that began "I didn't ask" because I thought that counted as kindness and ended "May your breakfast go right." I didn't send them. The not sending felt like a skill borrowed from signals. Hold, then go. A week later, afternoon tried to be a test. A supervisor wanted the newsletter to call a derailment an operational inconvenience. The sky wanted to be theater. I walked past the control center and bought nothing. I left a bottle of water on the employee bench with a note, "For whoever is waiting for a sister." A guard with kind eyebrows gave me the nod bridges use when they've held and will hold again. On my way home, I slipped a blank movement authority into my pocket and wrote "Turn toward your name" across the clean side. I didn't light anything. Roman and I adjusted our grammar, fewer messages, no rooms with windows that forgive too much. If we failed quieter. If we stopped without applause. Still, we orbited. He texted a photo of a panel with my initials hidden in grease pencil. I replied with steam curling over 2 mugs and Evan's unshowy script under the magnet, torque. We flirted by timetables. We confessed by maintenance. When a summer storm got ideas and a transformer picked a side, the board went confused for a minute that felt like a thesis. Roman texted, "We're dark on the east, need hands to walk switches, bring shoes you can apologize to." I was 4 blocks away and too willing. We shoveled ballast, threw a stubborn lever, asked steel to forgive us our narrative. When the panel went green again, he pulled me into the stairwell and kissed me with a hunger that skipped monologues. My back met cool concrete. His hand found my hip. Somewhere a fluorescent hummed that exhausted kind of approval. We didn't rush. We mapped mercy with our mouths and rehearsal with our hands. His palm slid under my shirt and paused. "Do you swear?" Then moved only as far as the better version of me allowed. I bracketed him with a grip he could leave without proving anything. He reached for me and I let him. We stayed quiet because echoes are snitches. "We're bad at quitting," he said into my throat. "We're good at failing differently," I said into his jaw. He laughed the small, stubborn laugh that has replaced half his apologies. "Text me a weather report in the morning," he said. "Tell me if the kettle beat the reasons." "It usually does," I said, "when we let it." Evan met me at home with the posture of a question he had decided not to sharpen. He smelled like basil and laundry that believes in second chances. "Hungry?" he asked. It wasn't a trap. We ate toast like it had been newly invented. After, he wrote under the magnet, "Ask before leaving." I wrote, "Hold me first." We signed with our names because sometimes paperwork keeps 2 men from becoming hatchets. On a Tuesday that felt unromantic enough to be honest, I told him the inventory. Roman's name, the places where I behaved and the ones where I pretended behavior could be rescheduled, the fence I kept bragging about by leaning on it. He did not arrive as a saint or a judge. He said, "Stay while you learn the thing you say you want to learn, but don't make me the siding where you park your conscience." Breakfast became a place with rules. No phones at the table. No rehearsed cruelty before coffee. No pretending tomorrow is a closet where tonight can hang unexamined. I turned the warrant over and added 3 new words in morning handwriting that looked like it had slept. "Choose the hard." Evan watched me write and didn't ask for a receipt. We shrank the orbit, fewer doorways. No stairwells unless the storm made them necessary. Roman sent a photo of the board at 0300 green across, one tiny LED insisting "still here." I hearted it and didn't go. He hearted the heart and let the root stand. The night the city announced a new timetable, I stood on a platform with a borrowed tie and the complicated pride of someone who cares about punctuality as a form of kindness. Roman didn't look for me. The part of him that belongs to the system wouldn't allow it. After, he sent a single word, stayed. I sent back the magnet on our fridge and the folded warrant beneath it. We left them there. We fail and fail differently and fail in ways that don't require anyone to stand under red pretending to know which signal will save them. The room does not demand a verdict. The morning remembers its job. I still carry the warrant in my left pocket. It warms to my thigh like a small, unlicensed gravity, heavier than paper has any right to be. Proud at breakfast. Touch before arguing. Choose the hard. None of it is noble. All of it is procedural, like aligning wheels to rails. Not glamorous exactly, but it keeps the car upright while you decide where you're going.